The origins, XXXTentacion versus Drake. Who stole the flow? Before we dive into this rap mystery, hit that subscribe button. You're watching Fake Famous, where we break down beefs, unpack legends, and dissect music moments that shaped the game. Let's start at the beginning. Late 2015. Florida was boiling up with underground energy, and a kid named Jase Onfroy, better known as XXXTentacion, had just uploaded Look at Me to SoundCloud. Now let's be clear. This wasn't your average rap record. Look at Me was dirty, loud, and unapologetic. The 808s were distorted like your speakers were blown out. The vocals screamed. X didn't rap the way people were used to. He attacked the beat like he was mad at it. The flow was erratic but catchy. Can't keep my dick in my pants. The delivery wasn't polished. That was the point. This was rage music, rebellion in audio form, and that flow, bouncy, choppy, shouty, became the blueprint for a new wave of SoundCloud rap. Now at first, Look at Me didn't go viral overnight. It bubbled quietly. It sat there on SoundCloud doing numbers with the underground. But in Florida, it was gospel. Kids in Broward were screaming it at house parties like it was the new national anthem. Fast forward to early 2017. Drake pops up on stage at one of his London shows and previews a new track, KMT featuring Gigs. It's hard, the beat slaps. But the moment he starts rapping, the internet loses its mind because that flow sounds very familiar. Same cadence, same bounce, same staccato delivery. Can't keep my... No, wait. People started lining up KMT next to Look at Me, bar for bar, like it was a high school plagiarism check. Drake's verse, I took the ting and I left it with me. She said she missed me, I told her to wait. X's verse, I'm like burr, I'm like burr, I'm like burr. It wasn't just the flow, it was the rhythm, the spacing, the delivery. And in the age of Twitter, detectives and Reddit forums, fans started screaming, Drake stole X's flow. Now let's zoom out for a second. Drake has been accused of borrowing before. He's been called a culture vulture, a style shifter, a wave rider. UK drill, dancehall, Afrobeat, Memphis. Toronto's finest has taken flows from just about everywhere. But this time felt different, because X wasn't some OG vet. He was new. He was still in jail when this blew up, literally sitting in a cell while the biggest rapper on earth previewed a song that sounded like his breakthrough. So when X got wind of it, he went off. From behind bars, he called out Drake publicly. The quote, if he would have said, yo, I took this kid's flow and that's what it is, then I would have been cool with it. But he didn't. He just took it, ran with it. And that's disrespectful. You gotta understand. To X, music was survival. He was literally locked up watching someone else benefit off his blueprint. So this wasn't about clout. It was about principle. And it didn't help that Drake, who usually brushes these things off, tried to play coy. When asked about it in an interview, he said something like, I don't even know who that is. That response poured gas on the fire. Because let's not kid ourselves. Drake absolutely knew who X was. And if he didn't before the controversy, he definitely did after Look at Me blew up on Billboard. By the time X got out of jail in 2017, Look at Me had charted. He dropped a full project, 17, and instantly cemented himself as a leader of the new school. He was volatile, controversial, but undeniably influential. And from that point on, the tension with Drake lingered like smoke after a house fire. They never traded diss tracks, never ran into each other publicly, but the fans kept the energy alive. Drake fans defended him. It's just a flow, bro. X fans clapped back. This was theft, plain and simple. But here's the deeper layer. At the core of this drama was a generational divide. Drake was the king of streaming, calculated, refined, label polished. X was raw, messy, unpredictable. His music wasn't made for charts, it was made for pain. So when Drake allegedly jacked that flow, it felt like the mainstream stealing from the underground, a giant cherry picking from the SoundCloud trenches. And to many, that crossed a line. And it wasn't just music. X was going through a lot at the time, a court case involving serious allegations. So to some, Drake's team might have seen him as low-hanging fruit. Someone they could borrow from without consequence because of his controversy. That made it even more complicated, because now it wasn't just artistic, it was personal. It was like Drake not only ignored X's influence, but tried to benefit while X was facing real-life problems. And that's what made fans side with X. It wasn't just about the sound, it was about respect. And Drake, whether intentional or not, walked into one of the most polarizing beefs in recent memory, without ever firing a shot. The accusation. When Drake previewed KMT in early 2017, X wasn't even free to speak for himself. He was locked up, dealing with legal drama, court appearances, and the weight of serious allegations. But while he sat in jail, his song Look at Me was blowing up online. And now, so was this Drake controversy. The clip of Drake rapping that suspiciously familiar flow hit the internet and fans went nuclear. Side-by-side comparisons were everywhere. Twitter was like, this Drake track low-key sounds like XXXTentacion's Look at Me. No cap. YouTube reaction videos popped up within hours. TikTok wasn't a thing yet, but if it had been, it would have been flooded with side-by-side edits. Reddit threads dissected it frame by frame, bar by bar. This wasn't just some niche rap debate, it was a cultural moment. And when X got out of jail, oh, he didn't waste 1 second. His first few interviews were like firebombs. He called Drake out by name directly, no filter. If Drake is going to take the flow and I don't get credit, he's a boff straight up. And the wild part? He wasn't lying. There was no shout out. No behind-the-scenes DM, no tweet like SO to X, he's dope. Just silence to X. That silence was the real disrespect. Because Drake is Drake, the biggest artist on the planet. If he borrowed from you, that could change your life, if he acknowledged it. But instead, he said this in an interview. I listen to all types of music. I wouldn't say I bit anyone's flow. That quote? That was Drake's attempt at sidestepping, playing neutral. Classic PR move. But fans weren't buying it, and neither was X. Even DJs were chiming in, like DJ Academics and Ebro, calling the flow comparison too close to be coincidence. And when industry insiders start calling it a copy, you know there's smoke. But Drake? He brushed it off like it was nothing. And that's when X went full villain mode. He didn't just criticize Drake, he taunted him, mocked him, took it beyond music. X started throwing jabs on social media that had nothing to do with bars. He made jokes about Drake's mom, hinted that he slept with her, went live saying, Drake, mom, kinda cute though. It was chaos, pure, unfiltered SoundCloud energy spilling into the mainstream. But here's the thing, this wasn't just about a flow. This was a line in the sand moment for the rap world. You had two opposing energies going head to head. On one side, Drake, the polished pop rap superstar backed by labels, stylists, brand deals, and a PR team. On the other side, X, the raw, unpredictable Florida wildcard, fresh out of jail, fueled by trauma and truth, no filter. And the fans, they pick sides. To the mainstream audience, Drake was still the GOAT. He made hits, he stayed out of trouble, he never really responded, so he stayed clean. But to the youth, to the SoundCloud scene, to the misfits and the mosh pit kids, X was the real one, the underdog who spoke for them, who fought back, who didn't care about industry rules. The clash between the two wasn't just lyrical, it was cultural, and here's what made it messy. They weren't that different when you zoomed out. Both artists were masters at creating emotional music. Drake made you feel like texting your ex at 2 a.m. X made you feel like screaming into a void after getting ghosted, jumped, and betrayed, all at once. But their approach couldn't be more different. Drake was surgical, X was spontaneous. Drake calculated every move. X tweeted whatever came to mind at 4 a.m. while shirtless and probably high. And for a while, that contrast worked. They lived in separate lanes. But this flow controversy, it smashed those lanes together. And suddenly, everyone had to choose. Who really owned the sound of the new generation? X believed he was the voice of a new wave. One that was getting stolen, whitewashed, watered down by the mainstream. And Drake, whether he meant to or not, became the symbol of that theft. And keep in mind, X was only 19 at the time. This wasn't some veteran rapper defending their legacy. This was a kid fresh out of jail, watching the biggest artist in the world use his exact style and walk away with no consequences. So yeah, he lashed out, and the industry didn't know what to do with it. Was X just an angry kid, or was he right? Was Drake being slick, or was this just an unfortunate coincidence? There were no diss tracks, no meetups, no studio confrontations, but online, it was war. Every Instagram post, every comment, every tweet, it was X versus Drake, and the energy was personal. Even years later, fans still debate it. Drake never needed to steal that flow. X wasn't even the first to rap like that. It's just a flow, bro. You can't copyright a cadence. But for X, it wasn't about the flow anymore. It was about credit, about respect, about being seen. He wasn't asking for money. He wasn't begging for a feature. He just wanted acknowledgement. And the fact that he never got it, That was the true fuel behind the fire. The aftermath. So, how did it all end? Well, it didn't. Not really. There was no epic diss track, no IG live screaming match, no studio confrontation, no Drake line like trigger fingers turned to Twitter fingers aimed at X. And for a while, fans were waiting, thinking maybe, just maybe, Drake would fire back. But that moment never came. Instead, time moved forward. And so did XXXTentacion. Because here's what a lot of people forget. While the internet was still caught up in the beef, X's music was evolving fast. He went from Look at Me to songs like Jocelyn Flores, Everybody Dies in Their Nightmares, Revenge, and Save Me. The energy shifted. He was diving into mental health, depression, loss, love, isolation, regret. These weren't turn-up tracks. They were therapy sessions over beats. That rage he had when he got out of jail, it got channeled into pain, into poetry, into projects like 17, and both of which showcased a whole different side of X. The screamer had turned into a singer. The SoundCloud wild boy was now an artist, exploring everything from acoustic guitar ballads to lo-fi R&B. But even with that growth, the Drake situation never fully disappeared. In interviews, fans would still bring it up. Comment sections under every Drake drop would still say, he stole X's flow. And anytime someone heard a new artist using that jumpy cadence with the blown out 808s, they'd point back to X. Every single time. Now let's talk about X's last public words on it. Before he passed, X was asked again about the Drake controversy. He didn't double down. He didn't escalate. He said, I have no hate in my heart, but I stand on what I said. Simple, clear, grown. And that's what made his story even more tragic. Because just as he was starting to turn a corner, mentally, emotionally, artistically, he was gone. June 18th, 2018, X was shot and killed in Deerfield Beach, Florida, in what police later confirmed was a targeted robbery. He was only 20 years old. The entire hip-hop world froze. Even people who didn't like him, shocked. Even people who only knew Look at Me were heartbroken. His death hit like a gut punch. And Drake? He stayed quiet. No public tribute, no Instagram post, no tweet, no RIP, just silence, which sparked a whole new wave of conspiracy theories. Because remember, there had been so much online tension between them that when X passed, some people actually tried to tie Drake to it. Now let's be clear, there's zero evidence that Drake had anything to do with X's death. But in 2023, things got even weirder. X's murder trial was underway. 3 suspects were facing charges, and out of nowhere, Drake's name got pulled into the courtroom. One of the defense lawyers for one of the men accused of killing X made a bold request. They wanted to subpoena Drake. Yup, in a real-life murder trial. Why? The lawyer argued that since X had beefed with Drake online and then died shortly after, it was reasonable to explore all angles, including potential celebrity feuds. Even crazier, X had once posted, "If anything happens to me, it was Drake." Now, most likely that was trolling, but in court, even trolling gets examined. Eventually, the judge denied the subpoena. Drake never had to testify, and prosecutors later confirmed there was no evidence linking Drake to the crime. Still, the fact that this feud escalated so much it made its way into court years later, that tells you how real the tension was. And here's the part that hits hard. Imagine if things had gone differently. Imagine if Drake had responded respectfully, not with silence, not with shade, but with recognition. Shout out to X. Kid's got energy. I fuck with his movement. Imagine if they squashed it, collaborated, mixed raw energy with polished bars. Imagine if X lived long enough to build his legacy, without controversy, without headlines, just art. But we don't live in that timeline. We live in the one where a 19-year-old kid got out of jail, screamed into the void, and never got an answer back. And that silence became louder than any diss track. Legacy impact. Now here's the thing that really cements this beef in hip-hop history. That flow X brought to the game, it never left. The distorted 808s, the fast, choppy delivery, the screamo-style hooks, it's everywhere now. Trippy Red, Juice WRLD, R.I.P., Ski Mask the Slump God, Sofago, IAs. Even mainstream rappers like Travis Scott and Lil Uzi have borrowed elements from that wave. The SoundCloud sound became the industry. And X? He was one of the architects. No label budget, no radio, No cosign, just SoundCloud, raw pain, and a mic. And Drake? He's still one of the greatest of all time, still dominating charts, still shapeshifting, still influencing entire genres with every album drop. But this moment, this little chapter, it put a crack in the perfect image, a glitch in the matrix. Because for once, Drake wasn't the innovator. He was the accused. And the guy accusing him became a legend. So what do you think? Did Drake really steal the flow? Was it straight up theft? Or was it just two artists pulling from the same underground energy at the same time? Did Drake owe X credit? Or was it deeper than just a cadence? Drop your thoughts in the comments. We want to hear it all. No holding back. And don't forget, this Saturday, we're breaking down every XXXTentacion album. From 17 to the Legacy tapes, the whole story, project by project. It's fake famous, and we're just getting started. We out.